All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to the first episode of Squid Talk. I'm Jagger, and to my right here is Jeremy. We're going to be bringing you guys the action every week of real amateurs, real racing, and everything going on locally here in Michigan in District 14.
And in amateur racing as a whole.
Yes, yes. So what we're doing this for is all the big podcasts out there cover the big pros. Unless you're a big amateur where something happens to you, they'll cover you. But nobody talks about us little guys. Nobody talks about what's going on at the real moto scene, at the real tracks, at the local events on the amateur level. So on that, the reason that we feel we're qualified to do this, I've been in racing for 20 years now. Jeremy, you've been for how long?
I've been involved with Michigan motocross and the district and racing in general since about 2005. I've worked for a lot of tracks and a lot of promoters. I've been around at the old Freeland MX and Michigan Mafia after it was sold, and MPX, spent a lot of years there. I spent some years at Valley. Still currently working at Twisted. I've hosted the banquets for a couple of years. I've announced at Bulldogs, but I've been around the block a little bit. My son, Roman Spar, has been racing for a lot of years, and I feel like I love Michigan motocross, and I love the whole scene, and I love what it does and the families and everything that's involved, and I think that we can really put a spotlight on some of these Michigan riders and what's going on in the great state of Michigan. I know our district is one of the biggest districts, if not the biggest district. If I recall properly from my past years of banquets, I think we've bragged about being the biggest district in the country. So Michigan motocross is awesome. There's a ton of them. You know, we've got races with 400 or 500 plus riders. And there's a lot of great competition. There's a lot of fast guys coming from Michigan. And
great tracks.
Yeah, you know, we've got some of the best tracks in the country. We've got Redbud, we've got tracks like Baja, we've got tracks like Valley, even tracks like Twisted with some awesome dirt that, you know, there's a lot of fun to be had here in Michigan. So we want to talk about it. We want to, you know, there's a reason there's a lot of fast guys coming from Michigan, and we want to talk to them. We want to talk about people that promote the sport in Michigan motocross. We want to talk about guys like OGs, Kyle Snellgrove, and the dealerships and the track owners.
Everybody that makes us in Michigan motocross happen, everybody that puts it on, everybody that supports it, gives riders, you know, tons of support. There's different types of things that we want to talk about. You know, one thing, you know, what is moto? What do we call moto? Well, you know what? It's the nitty gritty. It's the family aspect. It's the real-time racing, you know, enjoying it with your buddies, going out riding, buying a bike. So what we're here to do is we're here to talk about that. You know, we're here to talk about all the amateurs racing scenes, you know, the young kids coming out, the kids that are going, you know, pro and taking the next level and advancing. We want to talk about the vendors, the tracks. We want to talk about everything that can help you guys understand what's going on better here in Michigan, and to give, you know, some other bigger companies a spotlight on some of the talented riders that we have. Because we really do have a lot of talented riders, from kids down in 50s all the way up to kids going pro right now.
We want to support the sport. Motocross is, it's not for everybody, but we love it, and we want to promote the sport. We want to help it grow. We want to be another outlet and another way for riders to get their names out there and people to be in the loop with what's going on. You know, I said earlier that we're the biggest district in the country, and we should be proud of that, and I want to talk about it. You know, we want to promote the local businesses that are promoting the sport. Like I had talked about, the sponsors, the dealerships, all that stuff. You know, we want to talk about ways to improve it. You know, what do you like, what don't you like, and what could be better, and
especially for the people coming in, you know?
What can we do to help new riders and help grow it and promote it?
Right, all the new people that come, even if you're buddies that just like to go out and trail ride and you want to follow some of the local scene, maybe get to a couple of tracks, we're going to give you tips on how to do that. We're going to give you the best local tracks in maybe your area. And we're going to do different types of stuff like bike tech tips, you know, maybe some things that you've never learned before. We're going to do a bike of the week each week where you send us your bikes and we pick one. We're going to highlight that bike.
We're going to talk about it.
Right, we're going to talk about everything on that bike and really give it a spotlight.
We're going to geek out on it, man. I love motorcycles. I have a passion for motorcycles. Anything with two wheels, whether it's motocross, road bikes, trials bikes. I love my trials bike. You know, and I feel very strongly, very strongly that, motocross is a very dangerous sport. It is not for everybody, like I said, and something that I've always stood by, die hard since the very beginning, is because motocross is so dangerous, we need to eliminate as many of those risks as possible. And part of that is your bike setup and your preparation before you go out there and try to go as fast as you can over a 100-foot double. That bike needs to be right. And unfortunately, not everybody was born with a wrench in their hand, and not everybody knows everything that they should know before they're putting wheels out on a track. So that's where our tech tips are going to come in. I'm excited to show you guys some things that are very important, in your bike setup and in your maintenance, to make sure that, you shouldn't be out there if things aren't top notch. You can't risk going out there and going balls out as fast as you can without something that's up to par. And I've seen it a lot, and I want to talk about it. So that's something that, the tech tips, some of you guys might find that, you're beyond our tech tips, and maybe what we have to say during those portions might not apply to you, but there's a lot of new racers out there. I hope, and I want to get some of these farm boys that love riding in their fields out to these tracks, and I want you guys to be prepared and be safe so that you can enjoy yourselves, have a good time, and come back to do it all over again.
Right. Speaking on that, people that are coming in the sport new, a lot of new parents coming in the sport, especially after COVID. We've seen a rise of, bikes being sold, new people getting into it. One thing I want to talk about is gear safety. I want to talk about, helmets that, you should buy. One thing that I've always said is, how much is your head or, your feet worth? We get a lot of people that come in here and they want to buy, a cheap helmet, and they don't understand the risk versus the reward on that. You buy a cheap helmet, something happens, it could really seriously injure you. Yeah. We've seen too many good riders go out with head injuries. There's been riders that obviously get paralyzed. It's a dangerous sport, so let's talk about that. Let's find ways to improve and make our sport as safe as possible, because at the end of the day, we're all putting our leg over a two-wheel death machine, and we're all going fast, and we all know the risk.
That's a little bit. It's calculated risk. I think Travis Pastrana years ago
he's a different animal.
It's calculated, okay? It's not a death machine. We're not going to call them death machines because you don't want to give all the haters. We're not going to give the haters more fuel, okay?
You can give Karen all the fuel she wants.
So, yeah, and, we want to keep this a family-friendly podcast as well. We want it to be entertaining for the older guys and the teenagers and that, and we want to have fun with it, but at the same time, we want the little guys to be able to watch.
And listen, we are going to have guests that come in. We have some guests planned for next week that we think are going to be really special.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk to riders. We're going to talk to parents, vendors, dealerships. Different people in the racing community.
Jagger. So what is the website? What's our email so that people can send us their suggestions? We want to see your bikes. Like I said, we're going to do a Bike of the Week segment. Jagger had mentioned it earlier. We want to see the freshest bikes in the state, all right? If you got something cool and you want to brag about it and show it off, listen, you know what? You usually the coolest looking guy at the track is the slowest, all right? I know how it goes.
Whoa.
Jagger, you don't look that cool, so you don't got to worry about it. Anyway.
Ain't that fast.
The point is, I want to geek out on your cool bike. So, what's the email, Jagger?
It's squidtalkracing@gmail.com. So lock it in, remember it. Send us your thoughts, your tips, things that you want discussed. If something happens at a race and you want to talk about it, points, a way a flagger situation happened, track maintenance, whatever it is, send it to me. I'm going to make sure that we get through it and try to get as many as we can. So with that happening.
Also, sorry to interrupt you there, Jagger. Also, we're looking to grow this thing. This is our first episode. We're excited. We're looking forward. We want to do this thing. Ideally, we'd like to make it a weekly podcast. If things go well and we're having fun with it, maybe we can do it more often. But it's kind of going to be up in the air for now. We're going to see what kind of feedback we get from you guys and see how it goes.
We'll get better.
I forgot my point, what I was getting at there, Jagger. But
Well, no problem. Well, this is what we're gonna do. So I want everybody who sees this. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you again. What I was getting to there, sorry guys. Use that email, squidtalkracing@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Send us your bikes. If you are a vendor or a dealership or anybody that's involved in Michigan motocross, we want to talk to you. Shoot us an email. Let's talk about it. You know, we want to spotlight even some dealerships because they support the riders. I don't want to turn this into a commercial for these dealerships, but there's a lot of guys out there, a lot of small dealerships that stick their necks out there for some of you riders and sponsor the riders, and they love the sport as much as we do. So we want to give them some attention and some appreciation as well.
Absolutely. So like Jeremy said, use that email. You know, send us your thoughts, your tips, everything that you got. I want to see them. So going to that, I want to get into the weekly discussion here. And the weekly discussion is the big race coming up, Baja Brawl.
Yep.
So, you know, there's a big, biggest race of the year. We all know it's the Baja Brawl. It's the, the biggest party scene. It's the biggest racing, biggest competition. I want to know what you guys think about it. So please send that into the email so we can talk about it on the next podcast. I will be there covering it for Squid Talk and Hooligan Racing. So that's another vlog channel that's starting. If you want to go check it out and check out the video, that will be on Hooligan Racing. So I want to talk about it, and I want to talk to you, Jeremy. Who do you think from Michigan has a chance in pro sport class?
Oh man, so this year we've got a pretty good group. I feel like, at the national level, we've had, I want to say about a half a dozen guys from Michigan. We got Kessler, we've had Wilbrandt, Hooker,
yeah,
Chris Prebula,
yeah.
Who else have we had out there?
We've had a couple decent guys out there, but what about the guys that don't go to the national level but always there?
Well, and even those guys, yeah, Byer. And,
he's going to be there.
Who was it who just won the Money Moto last weekend?
So we're talking about who from Michigan has a chance in the pro sport class. We got Wilbrandt, we got Hooker, we got Chris Prebula, we got
Chris has been looking good, dude. I honestly. Even guys like Lorenz, watching at the Nationals, I don't think Preb's going to be there. I don't think he's going to be there. I think he's sticking with the Nationals. Yeah, so I don't think that he's going to come and ruin anyone's party. But, I mean, when you look at the results on the Nationals for Michigan, Preb's been doing it. Chris has been getting it done. Although I will say, when we were at the practice at Baja last weekend, Chris was there.
So
he was there practicing. So he's in Michigan last weekend.
Here's my thought on it. If he shows up, he has a good chance to win the Money Motor at the pro sport. Does he make more racing the pro sport at the Brawl, or does he make more going to the national? What's his game for going to the national?
I think since he was there practicing last weekend, that he's going to be at the Brawl.
So if he's at the Brawl,
I think he's going to be there.
Does Lorenz come? Lorenz is always there. Is he going to come?
Lorenz will probably be there.
We know that Hazen's going. He's been, been out from the training, right?
Hazen, what's he been up to?
I think he's been riding a little bit. I think he's trying to get ready for the Brawl. So does he come out swinging?
Okay.
We got guys that will be there and they'll contend. We got, always a good guy to throw in the mix who could have a good moto is Jamie Disher.
Was it Disher that just won the Money Motor? No, it wasn't Disher. Gosh dang it. It's driving me nuts now that I can't think of it.
I was not there, unfortunately. But, so another thing, we seen that video Crown come out. Does Crown show up on a two-stroke? And does he race the Money Motor?
Ride in a while. That'd be cool to see.
Is he healthy enough?
There.
Can he be there and can he do it?
Up to these days.
We know
I'd love to have Joey Crown. We're going to need to get you on here, buddy. You've been a Michigan stud for a lot of years, man. We've all loved and followed Joey Crown for a lot of years. We'd love to know what he's up to and what's in store next for Joey Crown.
Right. So what about, there's a lot of fast kids right now in 80s and 65s. You know what I mean? So that's going to be one thing to check out and see who puts it on the map and it puts it out there for the Baja Brawl.
I mean, and let's talk about just what the Brawl is a little bit here. I mean, Brawl is two different things depending on who you are and what you're going for, in my mind. At the end of the day, in past years, I know more people that have gone to the Brawl for the party, for the whip contest, for Pondapalooza, the spectacle of it more than the racing.
Yeah.
It's on the other hand, whether love it or hate it, the brawl brings some of the toughest competition to Michigan that you're going to see all year. I don't think that even at the National Day or after Redbud, after the Pro Day, the amateur races, I know it's Pro-Am and that, but I don't think that, I don't know, maybe at that event they might get the same caliber, but the brawl gets people from all over the country.
Right, you might get the same caliber level of riders maybe from Michigan. I think the brawl brings out a different whole animal at the track though.
Yeah.
The brawl, it gets nasty, it gets rough, and it is hard.
And the brawl is one of, I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I want to say it's like the third largest amateur race in the country.
It's definitely in top 5.
I mean, we've got Loretta's and Minios.
We got Loretta's, Minios.
But aside from those two
Ponca.
events, I don't know how many amateur races there are nationally that have more racers with higher level of competition than the brawl.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We
You
got
guys might be able to shoot some emails and tell me where I'm wrong there, but I feel like the competition there and the number of racers.
But also,
there.
like you said earlier, it's also probably one of the biggest party scenes.
It is. So why are you going to the brawl this year? What's your what are you looking forward to, Jagger?
Well, obviously the brawl is always fun. You know what I mean? It is a party. It's something for the whole family to enjoy. We enjoy it. Yeah, I'm racing. I'm in no shape to be going out there probably and race right now, but I am gonna race it. I got Cameron. He's racing this year, so I put him out
We're gonna
there.
have to make sure that a future podcast, one of our topics is racing versus riding on a race day.
All right, I raced for the first 2 laps. How about that? All right, first 2 laps, you see me out there, I'm gonna be throwing it down. After that, goodbye everybody else. So obviously it is a party. That's we love to go there for that. But with this year, you couldn't get a big spot unless you were a pre-registered rider.
Yeah, I like that. You were just telling me about that before we started up here today, that they're not allowing camping spots pre-registered, or is it, you tell me, you know more about it than I do.
Up in the cornfield where he had it last year, that one section's for pre-registered riders as well, and then he's got a whole nother section for basically come and park as you come, and then everything else, as far as I'm aware and my knowledge of it, is pre-registered riders only. You have to have one pre-registered rider in your pit to get that spot.
Okay, well I kind of like that. That kind of, it's
keeps a little bit of the riffraff out.
All BS aside, after dark at the brawl is just not a place for kids. It's realistically, there's a lot of riffraff. There's a lot of.
But is he trying to bring that and change that?
So maybe Pat's making an effort to tone that down a little bit. Which, call me a fuddy-duddy or old man, whatever. But
you're crazy.
I kind of like it. Look, man, I've seen accidents, and I'm not. Pat is a wonderful promoter, and he does a lot to promote that place and put on a heck of a show for everybody that shows up.
It does.
And I'm not going to knock him for that. It's not everyone's cup of tea necessarily, and it doesn't have to be, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So
why
it is
aren't you
a
going?
hell of a race, though. I'm not going to the brawl because Roman's not ready to race at the brawl. He's not to that point this year. He hasn't been putting in enough seat time. We got a new bike. We're going to go race this weekend at Twisted and test out our new JP Speed suspension. So JP, we appreciate you. So far, so good on that thing.
Let's see how that thing works. We'll talk about it
So we're
next
going to see
week.
how it goes this weekend. But he's just really not in shape for that yet. He has high expectations for himself, and I don't think that he's ready. So we're gonna have fun with it this year, and hopefully next year we can hit it hard a little bit more.
Well, it is hard to go if you're not, if you're not in shape and you're gonna go just to race. It's hard to go because it's a lot of money. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Our sport costs a lot of money, and that's one thing that I want to talk about with this podcast is what can we do to help, get those costs maybe down a little bit, and what can we talk about with these tracks and AMA and it's a lot of money to go to brawl. Let's face it, Pat charges a lot of money because he puts on a good ass show.
And I mean, aside from all that, these tracks are spread out all over the state.
Yeah, it's a far drive.
And when you're going camping and towing trailers and bikes and everything else, aside from the racing fees with just gas prices, it makes the sport hard to afford these days. You have a couple $100 invested in fuel or gas just to get there these days,
right? Yeah,
which is making it out of reach for a lot of people.
Which, it's sad because there's a lot of kids out there that, could be into our sport if, let's face it, sometimes the parents don't have the funds, I'm strapped sometimes to go, like, I'm like, dang.
And on that too, when I got involved with motocross, it kind of happened in a funny way because I was around it because some of these track owners were my customers. I sold heavy equipment, and once I saw it, I fell in love with it and I became involved. With that said, I couldn't afford it. I saw these other guys out there racing. I saw these kids on these 50 Cobras and KTMs, and this was before my son was old enough to be doing it. And I saw that and I fell in love. And I remember seeing Cameron Jeffers, man, at the old Freeland MX on the junior track, Colin Deems and Cameron Jeffers, and they were on these 50cc bikes going around that track, doing things that I never thought
if we're
was
talking
possible
about that,
on a little bike.
We talked about Crown earlier. What about, remember when he hit the super double on his Cobra?
Oh man, no.
Oh yeah.
That never happened.
Yeah, he hit
on a Cobra?
It was, yeah.
I think
quote me,
it
was a Cobra.
I don't think any Cobra 50 ever
No,
had the
back
nuts.
in the day, Joey Crown laid it on the line and he launched
It's
that
possible. I need the audience to confirm this. Some of you old timers that have been around, and
let's get Joey on
Let's
here.
get Joey and
Yeah,
find
let's
out,
talk
because
about it.
Joey, I knew you were a stud, but if you were hitting the super double on a 50, that's amazing. That's amazing. Anyway,
it was pretty good.
What I was getting to though is, it's not an affordable sport. Okay, I fell in love with it. I saw these other kids and I thought to myself, I can't wait till my kid's old enough. I can't wait to get them out here. Once we did, it was expensive, and I was fortunate because I worked for Freeland and I was involved with the track, and I was able over the years to approach track owners or have track owners approach me and say, hey, would you be willing to pitch in at our track? Or can I pitch in at your track? Whether it's announcing, whether it's running the starting gates or whatever it is. And that helped offset race fees and sign up fees and gate fees and stuff like that. So I can tell you that I really don't think that there's any tracks in the district that I've been to that couldn't use more help. It's hard to find flaggers, it's hard to find scorekeepers, it's hard to find workers that are willing to do stuff on the weekends, and especially when their kids are out there racing. So I can speak for a lot of those tracks and tell you, if you can't afford it, go to the track owners, talk to them, say, hey, I'm willing to pitch in and I want to help out at your track if you will let my kid race for free and let us through the gates and camp. And I don't think that there's any that are going to deny you. So
no, there's other tracks that are clubs, like
Bulldogs. There's ways you guys can get in, even if it's hard to get there. If you're willing to put in the extra effort and you really want to get your kid out there, trust me, these tracks would love all the help that they can get from you, and it's definitely what made it possible for me when my son was young.
Right. I think we need more parents involved at the tracks, because
it would be cool.
It'd give more parents room to get in there and help make it safer for their kids. More parents to understand.
The understanding is crazy.
Right. There's a lot of stuff that happens inside the track, in the track development, the track how it's ran that day, and to make it possible. And sometimes things happen, mistakes.
Nobody
understands.
Nobody understands what it takes to own a track and hold events if you haven't done it. You just don't know. Just grooming and watering a track properly and doing it in such a way to create good racing action is a science. These track owners take more heat than you can imagine. I've never been to a race without somebody bitching about the track or the watering or this or that, or it's too wet or it's too dry, or there's...
Yeah, but how do we relay that though to the people that don't know? How can track owners be better at, hey, look, I'm sorry you feel this way, let me explain to you what's going on so you can understand we always don't get perfect conditions here.
It's not all common sense stuff. That's what's difficult about it. for instance, track prep on a race day, if that track is not overwatered and more wet than you would like it to be in the first moto, the track's going to be crap in the afternoon, and it's going to be dry,
it's
and they're not
better.
going to be able to keep up.
It's better to have it muddy in the first moto, so that by the end of the day, it's tacky and good ruts.
It's almost okay. Now, all tracks aren't the same. All dirt's not the same. But in general, if you want that, if you've got a big event going, if you want that track to be good in the afternoon and not dry as a bone, it has to be more wet in the morning than what some of the riders are going to like.
Right. Which
and that's how you get ruts.
It's different with sand, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not. It's still the same thing, because once a track dries out during a race event, during the day when the sun's out and there's bikes on the track,
hardens up.
Once it dries out, you can't catch up. Okay? Once it gets dry, I don't care how much that water truck's going around, you're never going to catch up. You have to have once the moisture that's in the ground is gone.
I hear, but do you think that track owners can do stuff better to maybe figure out a different prep situation so that it lasts longer, or a different watering system? You know, a lot of tracks have gone to a sprinkler system. You know, why, you know, we pay our tracks a lot of money.
The only thing that a sprinkler system or something like that does is it makes it so that the track owners don't have to use the fuel and the manpower and the water trucks driving around and doing all that. You can't water with a sprinkler system necessarily anymore. I mean, I guess you can if you can hit the whole track at once and get the whole thing done, but that's not the way that they work. Usually there's zones, and this part gets watered, and then this part gets watered, and then this part gets watered. There's not enough water to water the whole thing all at once.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but then maybe you don't get the, you know, the guy that's on the back of the truck doesn't know what he's doing and spraying you in the goggles type guy. You know what I mean? Maybe you get somebody controlled that knows what they're doing with the sprinkler.
I mean, sure, but you know, that's the other thing though. If you're a motocross rider and you race enough, at some point you're going to get hit by a water truck with some water. It's going to happen. The tracks are going to be wet. There's going to be issues, okay? It's just a fact of the sport. You're never going to like every track. You're never going to like every racing condition, but
so let's talk about. So now we're talking about track conditions, and we're talking
for everyone.
And we're talking about, you know, what's going on this week. You know, week coming up with Brawl. What do you think that he's going to be able to do to prep it? You know, because let's face it, Brawl gets gnarly, and I feel like the last couple of years he's done pretty good at prepping it. You know, maintaining it, smoothing out, you know, the big spots. We know Kong's supposedly going this year.
Yeah, well, we know it is. I mean, at the last practice,
does he keep it that way?
That's from what I understand. He had that part closed off because he had other plans for that area of the property.
I'm not going to complain because it's one less area I got to survive. So I'm not going to complain about it. You know, the pro guys, you know, they might complain a little bit because it's a little separator area and it was a good spot. But so what can he do? You know, can he groom it out more? Can he, you know, keep it, you know, more wet, you know, with the water to help it, you know, so it doesn't get so rough?
I don't have, if I'm being honest with you, my opinion ain't shit because I'm not the one out there riding, and I only see what I see from the side of the track, and I think all you guys that are bitching about it are sissies. So I don't have a lot of empathy, okay, on that aspect.
But you're not a rider out there.
What I think about the track is that, you know what, for that size event, I think that what he's doing is fine. I don't have any issues about the way the track gets rough. It is a national caliber event, okay? It is a national caliber track. And when you get some of the baddest dudes around riding on a track like that, it's gonna get rough. It's not a flaw in the way that he's grooming or watering necessarily. It's the nature of the beast and the nature of the sport. I don't think that necessarily things need to be changed or could be done better. It's motocross, man. It's supposed to be rough.
I know. I think the pro sport guys that are going there, you know, you got Will Brandt, you got Hooker, you got Beyer. You know, I don't know how Beyer does it. I don't know how that guy turns it on.
Beyer was this money moto I was talking about. It was Beyer and this other guy that were racing for the money moto, and the other guy beat him. I'm so mad that I can't think of his name.
I didn't see it. I wasn't there. I was kind of
Was
off
it
that week.
Cadillac? Where was that at?
No,
We're gonna have to cut this part out too.
I think we should just look it up.
All right.
I think you should grab your phone. Let's look it up right now. But I want to know how that guy does it, because that guy, I feel like, pulls some stuff out of his rear end. Because for a guy that owns a roofing company and he busts his butt doing it, he goes and shows up at a Baja Brawl, and I guarantee you he gets top 3 at least one moto. Guaranteed, top 3. He comes out swinging,
Yes.
and he gets a top 3.
Yeah, Battle Creek was last weekend.
Mick France.
That's who it was.
That's who we're forgetting
Nick
right now.
France.
How can I forget him?
Sorry, dude. You're a stud. Good job on your Money Moto win. He's been out there. I didn't see him racing at Redbud. I saw him racing the night races, I want to say. Did he? Was he racing at the big show?
I think he raced the big show. I think he
I
had a
want to say
bad
that he
weekend.
did. Anyway,
We know he had a bad
He's been
bad
looking
weekend
good
at
this
Loretta's.
year. He's been riding hard.
He-
He's been riding a lot.
He had a tough
And-
week at Loretta's.
Mitchell France, sorry we forgot you, buddy.
Well, it's hard to forget him when he's on that rev limiter every time on that 250. That guy rides a 250 harder than anybody I know.
So what else we got going on? We got this weekend, so we got 2 weeks, a full week before the brawl. This coming
This
weekend
coming week is
uh,
Twisted. It's a
is
two-day
Twisted MX,
2-day event, right, Jeremy?
2-day event.
All right, so Twisted's gonna be running for anybody that wants to go get some more practice. Gate
We
drops.
also have Grattan is running this weekend, and
Grattan.
they have a state championship race.
So Sunday,
So
right?
Grattan is going to be pretty stacked this weekend, I bet.
So
Holding the raffle at Twisted this weekend, doing a bike giveaway.
Yeah.
That's going to be badass. So that's a reason to come to Twisted this weekend for sure. I talked to Tony on the phone earlier too, and he made some more track changes. If you guys haven't been out there for the practices or weren't out there for the last race, Tony made a few changes out there, and the changes that after speaking with him today, the changes that he had made to the track sounds like it's really going to change the flow of the track in the center section. He told me that
center section.
Yeah. So after coming out of the woods, the second tabletop is now, I want to say like over 100-foot tabletop.
Whoa.
The big bowl corner after that, the right-hander is gone. That's a flat corner, and then the
That was a good
tabletop in
passing
the
corner.
center.
That was a good passing.
Well, it's still, he's got 2 lines going through it though.
Okay.
It's a split lane. So that's still going to be good for passing.
Okay.
And I'm sure he's still got a little bit of a burn. Now that was a lot of dirt to move. So
that was a lot.
and then the one in the center coming back is also longer. So the second tabletop right-hander, and then the small tabletop left-hander.
Yeah.
That second tabletop and that one in the fishbowl there are both larger.
But what's his
So
reasoning for doing it?
Trying to keep it fresh.
Trying
Just
to
trying
change it up?
Just trying to change it up
Don't
and
get
keep
stagnant?
things fresh and have fun with it. So somebody, everybody has
All right.
good things to look at.
That's one thing that people can write us in and talk about. If
Yeah,
you go to
let-
Twisted this weekend, write
tell
it
us
in.
what you think.
SquidTalkRacing@gmail.com. Let me know what you thought about it. We're gonna talk about it. Jeremy's gonna be there raffling off the bike, so good luck to anybody that enters into it. With that coming up, we got that in Grattan for a state
Grattan this
championship,
weekend
so
as
we're
well,
gonna
and
have
it's
to make
their,
sure.
I believe it's Grattan's last race of the year. And
Okay.
now Grattan had their state championship race was supposed to be earlier in the year.
Yeah,
I
so
believe
this-
that
this
they
is
got
a
rained
reschedule.
out. So this is a reschedule. So this is a state championship weekend at Grattan.
So we're gonna have to check in on points and see who's doing what in
Yeah.
classes, and who's making advances and who's staying still.
And
Right?
don't forget that email, guys. Squid Talk Racing
At gmail.com.
Gmail. You guys, please give us some feedback. Tell us what you want to hear, what topics you want us to cover, and just give us some feedback. Just say hello.
We're gonna talk, finish our discussion here. We're gonna keep it short and sweet, guys. So first
Yeah.
episode, keeping it short and sweet. We want to, get a little bit of feedback. We want to get better at this. We want to get, better equipment, better feedback. We want to do better. We really want to use that SquidTalkRacing@gmail.com. So email us your thoughts, email us your ideas, things that, tips even, give us tips. And we're new to this. This is our first one.
Yeah, if you've been doing this, there's a lot of media out there that
Yeah.
covers motocross. And it seems like, I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like in the last several months, I've seen a lot more social media. Oh, wait a minute, Jen! I know we want to focus on the amateurs, okay, but we got to talk about Deegan real quick. This weekend,
He's still an amateur.
this
Until his pro
weekend,
debut.
Deegan is making his pro debut. Is he going to be running the show? Is he going to be top 3, top 5, top 10? Is he going to get smacked in the face once he gets out there with the big boys?
No.
What's your prediction on Deegan's show?
Here's my thought on Deegan. We all know that kid is bad to the bone. He is there, you know what I mean? That kid had, as much as I hate to say it because I feel like this is like the worst thing to say, he did have a good start off by who his dad was. Let's face it, they had, in this sport, if you have the money, you have a good start off, you can, push good. But what he did was take from what a good start he got, took his talent, said, look, I am for real. I am the guy that can do this. And took it to the next level.
It is. This sport, if you're in a situation that you can afford it easily and you can afford the new bikes and the travel and the training and going down south in the winter, because, hey, we're in Michigan. We don't get to ride year round. So a lot of the better riders out of Michigan, they go down south and they train in the winter.
Yeah.
So that costs, makes it even harder for us Michiganders here. But with that said, it does give you a leg up and an advantage if you have that golden ticket, so to speak.
But
however,
I don't think that's in the question.
no, because you know what, knowing from personal experience and my own kid, all the sponsors, all the money in the world only gets you so far. And in my opinion, it's kind of like when the kids are young and when they're first starting out, a lot of us as parents that have this dream, our kids don't even ask necessarily to go riding. We buy them the bikes and we take them to the tracks without them ever even asking for it because we're living vicariously through our kids and we think it's cool and we want to be cool like our kids.
Yeah, right? And in that though, I feel like, so there's a couple things that, people always, I've had people come to me and be like, why would you buy your kid a dirt bike? Like, why would you push him to do that? There's a whole bunch of different stuff that you learn through motocross and through being at the track and racing that I don't think you'll get anywhere else.
Absolutely. But the point I was trying to make is, even if you have all that, the sponsors and the money, that gets you so far when you're young. Once your kid gets to be about 12 years old, it's going to become to the point, when they get to the 80s, it's going to get to the point where mom and dad pushing the kid and supporting the kid and all the sponsors in the world aren't going to make that kid fast and aren't going to get that kid to the next level. If the kid doesn't want it as much as dad wants it, it ain't going to happen.
No,
you can mortgage your house and train down south all winter long. If your kid doesn't want it as much as you do, as much as you want your kid to want it, it's not going to work. And Deegan took the opportunities that he had and he ran with it. And it's clear that the kid wants it. The kid loves it. The kid's a natural. Yes, he had a lot of help, but it doesn't really matter. That's great when you're little, but to get to the level where he's at, he put in the work.
All right, so he
earned it.
Let's talk about the level he's at. He's going his pro debut this weekend. What do you think? I'm saying top 10. Realistically, I think he'll even do better than top 10, but I want to give him a little wiggle room there because it's his first pro race, you know what I mean? So there's going to be some nerves in there.
Yeah.
But, he's been training and riding with the star guys all year.
I don't see any podiums, okay? I don't see any podiums this weekend. I think he's going to be...
I think he's going to float around the top 5 area.
10 to 15.
15. I think 5 to 10. That's where he's going to be at.
Man, I hope you're right, Jagger. I'd love to see this kid come out of the gates and, show these big boys what it's all about.
There's another kid that just got dropped that he's making his pro debut, Gavin Towers.
Okay.
So, does Gavin Towers stay up there with them, or do you think Deegan's a little more prepared than Gavin?
If I'm being honest, Deegan's on another level.
I think so too.
Okay, Gavin Towers, he's fast. He's a badass. He's an awesome rider.
Where I think Deegan has a leg up.
But he's not Deegan.
I think Deegan has a leg up by the team he's on and the training program he's on. He's riding with those guys every day. He's training with them, doing the same training regimen.
He's just faster.
You know what I mean?
You can say it's because of the training, because it's the team, but the bottom line is Deegan's faster. It's just a fact.
It is.
Race results prove it.
I think Gavin's going to get in the pro zone. I think he's going to open up a little bit. You know what I mean? I think he's been, I don't want to say sheltered or, overseen by Deegan, but I feel like, let's face it, Deegan's, his YouTube, his social media following puts him out there as the biggest amateur right now.
Yeah, but that doesn't make him faster on the track.
No, I agree.
And, when it comes push to shove and the tires hit the track, that's when your skill speaks for itself.
So how does he mash up against the Lawrence brothers?
I don't think he's got it, dude. I think that there's a lot of fast amateurs out there. And I think that he looks good against those amateurs.
I don't think we see him get to Lawrence level this year. I don't think he beats Lawrence. I think Lawrence is ready for that next. I think Lawrence is ready to go 450. As much as I think it's crazy.
Is Lawrence? Oh, I can't wait to see him on the 450 at Donations. Are you guys going to Redbud for Donations? Oh, man.
It's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild.
There's that video released of him riding it, and he looks like.
All right, guys. So with that, though, we got to keep this. We want to keep. This is our first inaugural, episode here, and we don't want to overwhelm you guys.
No.
And we want you guys to come back and watch us next time. We've got a lot more stuff that we want to cover on our next episodes. I've got a lot, whether it's topics, like I said, we want to do our tech tips, we want to do our bike of the week. Send us your bikes.
We got guests coming in.
We want guests. I can't wait. We're gonna have a section that's called the rant of the week, and boy, do I have some rants for you guys.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
A lot of that. So each week we're gonna do a weekly discussion, a rant of the week. We're gonna do guests. We want to have in studio guests too. We're gonna get some better equipment here, so I want to have in studio guests so that way we can talk and do what we got to do. We're going to have a weekly update. We're going to follow the points in the districts, things that happen, different dealers that might be having programs going on, that like a sale going on, stuff like that. We're going to have bike of the week like we talked about. I want next week, I want to at least have one bike on there.
To clarify, as far as the dealers and the vendors, I'm not here to become a commercial for these dealers or vendors. When I bring the dealers and the vendors into our podcast, my goal of doing so is for them to talk about how they support Michigan motocross and the racers and how they're involved with the motocross scene and what their goals are, what their dealership is doing. Are they sponsoring riders? Do they have any open spots available?
Look,
that's what I want to talk
dealership.
about. I want to talk about how they're involved.
Right, I work at a dealership, Grace Performance. If you're over, in Kimball area, you want to check them out, great. They do a lot of stuff. A lot of dealerships do things for riders. They'll give you a discount on parts, trying to help you out. They have rider support programs.
Right.
So if you don't know about that, just go in there and talk to them. Go in there and talk to them.
So guys, that's what we're all about. Squid Talk Racing at gmail.com is the email.
Use it.
Come back and see us next week.
And we're going to be at Brawl, so we are going to be covering it. So if you
covering Brawl,
have any ideas, you find me, come up to me, let's talk about it. Let's do an interview. Let's for anybody that wants to be on, let's talk. Let's see what our episodes are going to be like.
Today's date is August 28th. This weekend is Twisted MX. I'm going to be there all weekend long, running the gates, running the show.
Big raffle too. Don't forget.
Bad to the bone YZ250. I mean, this bike
you two-stroke lovers, you're going to want to get on this.
No expense spared, so fresh motor, fresh
before we get off,
best of the best.
Tell them what the raffle is.
All right. Giving away a bike, $60 a ticket to buy, 100 tickets sold. First prize is the bike. Second prize is $500. Third prize, $300. Fourth and fifth are $100 a piece. If the tickets don't sell, if I don't sell 100 tickets, then we're going to just raffle off whatever funds are raised. So first prize will be 50% of whatever's raised, second will be 30%, and third place will be 20% of the pot. I'm not making anything off of it. It's 100% payback.
Right, so go check that out. Twisted MX this weekend, good racetrack. You got Grattan, so if
we got some track changes at Twisted this weekend. Check them out.
Grattan's going to be the state championship rescheduled race. So we want to hear about that. I'm going to keep up on dates on that. So we're going to be there. We're going to do this every week, or at least try once a week to get a video out. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching our first episode of Squid Talk. We appreciate it. We want your feedback.
See us next week.
Yep, come back, see us, and we'll see you guys at the racetrack.